So I joined a gym. Then I spent many an hour trying to find an excuse not to go to the gym. And then I finally dragged myself there. And it was closed for the 4th of July, which sounds about right.
It sure does. I had that middle-age dream, you know the one, where you're at a Guns N' Roses concert wearing mismatched shoes and trying to find your cats.
Gosh, Heather, I'm not sure I've had that specific shoe dream, but I do dream about losing my pets a lot. And I don't know why. Can I just dream about, I don't know, being Superwoman or being able to breathe underwater or something cool? Please?
I ate a cheese plate, a burger, and a whole jar of olives, followed by a large slice of rhubarb pie a la mode, of course. Did I feel sick? Yeah. But life is short, y'all. Gotta treat yourself.
Treat yourself and have such a good day. Hello, world. Welcome back to Have Such a Good Day, the show that wants you to do just
Lizette.
my Lizzo.
Episode 196. Hope y'all had a happy 4th and it wasn't too loud. I hope y'all had earplugs out there. I heard it was a doozy.
Girlfriend.
Welcome actually to the show that unpacks the absurdity of everyday life for your entertainment, life's cruel ironies, joyous moments, and
life's
the
cruel ironies. I'm not sure we've ever said that as eloquently as you did just now, Heather. That is 100% life, man.
It
is a series of cruel ironies
and bittersweetness.
And for anybody who's like, July 4th, what in the heck? You may be not in the U.S. Many of you aren't. We know this because we know ya. Because you talk to us and
we have a global audience.
Good feedback, and we talk in our Discord. But yes, so 4th of July is, Independence Day in the U.S. Not going to go through a whole history lesson with y'all, but one of the things that has become more of an issue, particularly in the area of the world that Heather and I live in, is fire safety. Because people set off fireworks or firecrackers, or I don't even know what the distinction is really at this point. But it can set off fires.
There's a wide range of fireworks that you can buy, like illegally or legally. And I even went to one of the little tents just to see what they had, because I was feeling nostalgic about the little flowers, that spin on the ground, and they're like pretty harmless. And
I'm surprised Humboldt allows that at all. I mean, they are fully illegal where I am.
Oh yeah, no,
you can't. Every little pop you hear, you're like, well, I mean, I could probably call the police, but they're not going to come. So,
well, I think there's just too many things going on a night like July 4th for them to even care about those little pops. But it's those tents are interesting because you got these really young people working in there, and I'm kind of asking about pricing, which is insane. I wanted to get a small pack of sparklers, relatively harmless, $20. And then she offered these are cheaper, and they're like the bigger versions that I've never seen before. Cause it's like, I'm kind of thinking back to my childhood and what we used to buy. And these are like massive sparklers that are like $20 each. Well, you could just get one or two for, the same price. And yeah, I mean, all create sparks and potential fires and mayhem and chaos. And garbage. And let's not forget also it hurts the ozone layer, doesn't it?
I can't imagine it's good for it. A lot of the stuff is pretty cheap and, pretty sus as far as where it was made and, how it came to be, in a tent that you could access.
Yeah, where's that manufactured? It's so dark. It's somewhere over the border somewhere.
There really is.
It's just who's doing that?
Well, when I was a kid, 4th of July, kids love fireworks, right? Like anything that's like, wow, colors and explosions, sure. Maybe not every kid, but as a kid, I really liked it. So you go to an event where there's a fireworks show. We had one in my small town, which was not the biggest show ever, but it was still pretty, they put on a good show.
They do it up. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There was, a bunch of local merchants, put money in the pot so that, the town could have this big event and, help, everybody in the town prosper because of it. But otherwise, when because I lived in the country, so I wasn't like, my immediate neighbors were not like within 100 feet of me on any side. I mean, it was more than that, but just kind of no. And so we had this front yard that was sort of facing an apple orchard, and nobody could see it. You could only like drive up to the house from the back if you were coming from, as a guest. And I remember, my dad would kind of be like, he'd be into it, like, all right, we're going to get some, and we'll do stuff on the front yard. So we're not really disturbing anybody. He was never trying to like upset anyone or scare anybody, but because we were kind of looking out into yonder. And it was so fun because he was a really responsible person. He was not trying to like blow anybody's foot off kind of thing. But at the same time, like, even so, like there'd be a couple like, where you're like, oh my God, it's going a weird way. Scary, but still fun, And one year, our neighbors to the north of us, doesn't matter, but, I'm just thinking in my head, they had an elderly dog, and she like was so freaked out that she wandered up to us because she was so scared about the noises that we were making. But she was like kind of maybe a little, she was old, and didn't really know what she was doing.
Confused. Yeah.
And we never did it again. It was like, okay, you know what? That's enough of it. Like as soon as you feel like you're like really like hurting someone or something, just not fun anymore.
Well, yeah, and that's what I wonder about others though, because I know that's how I feel. And like you and I were chatting about this yesterday, but like a lot of people don't think about that. And they just think about their fun. And I'm not pointing fingers at anyone in particular, but the amount of trash and chaos that I heard from my friends living in bigger cities and denser areas, they were like scared, and their animals were cowering in the corner, and they were on tranquilizers. And it's just, why? Just for one night of fun? I don't know. I feel like you could get your yayas out like in another way. But I mean, I don't want to be
I'm with
somebody
you.
who,
I mean, I'm also living in a, fire-laden part of the world, for the better part of my life. Well, actually my whole life, but some places more than others, specifically. It's like anything that is like, oh, you might start a fire and like burn down a city. No, thanks. Like there's nothing fun about that to me.
No. And even if, it's not even like a fun thing. It's like, your insurance, well, first of all, you probably don't have fire insurance because a lot of places in California, you can't even get written up for any fire insurance. And if something happens, you are not covered, like you are screwed. And so you probably want to make sure that you don't have people doing fireworks around your property, because if something happens, you really have no recourse.
Right. Unless there was some sort of like criminal thing. Oh gosh. Well, this is fun. This is a fun way to start the show, Heather.
Well, I will say,
but all very valid. Yeah. The good news is, and I'm sorry for some of your friends who had a tough time. I'm sure I have friends who did as well, who live in other parts of the world where maybe, there was a lot more just, I don't know, fireworks stuff going on. But Otis the dog, he has lived through, we're now a few apartments in to, our lives together. And there have always been some, some blasts here and there. And he always looks at me like, should I react? And I always kind of look at him like, it's nothing. It's not about you. And he kind of goes, okay. Well, not all dogs are like that. And certainly not cats either. Or, gerbils or, whatever animal you might have, birds.
Gerbils.
I don't know. I met a guinea pig over the weekend, so I'm thinking about him. But like I am lucky not to have a dog that's losing his mind. But he's also safe inside with me. And like, we're not going on walks on July 4th. You kidding me? No. And it just kind of, I don't know. I wish we could all celebrate something that is, for many people, not everybody, but for many people, a very joyous day.
Exactly.
And, and not do these things where
Not
I
wreak
have
so
to
much
get like these
havoc.
like weird Instagram warnings, of
Yeah,
people being like,
totally.
keep your pets inside, they're going to run
Yep.
off into the desert, never to be
Yep.
seen again, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
no, it's like I think at some point, something fun, it just comes at a cost. And I feel like the cost now is I think a lot more, especially with everything that's going on in the world. There's just a lot post-pandemic, a bit of chaos out there. And we'll get into that a little bit later. We'll talk about chaos throughout the show. It's our through line
We
today.
will. Yeah.
Sarah, what else is going
Chaos.
on in your neck of the woods?
All right. Well, so I mentioned 4th of July also served me with a big old, hey, your gym that you just joined is closed. Now, this is not the end of the world. Okay. So I am temporarily living in a house that I'm not going to live in for that much longer. But while I'm here, and let's call it the end of through the summer. Okay. Just, for lack of it, because I don't really know. I was like, all right, I need to do something that is not just me jogging with my dog, which I do. I don't always jog with him. I walk or I jog, depending on my mood, or like how, quickly I need the walk to be over. But like something that's just for me. So I joined a gym. It was a gym that I think I talked about this on the show last week, right?
Yeah, you did.
That's like it's close by. It's whatever. It's cool, and it gives me if I can carve out the time, just a little bit of like Sarah time, just a little bit of Sarah time, where I don't have to think about it being like, what's my dog doing? And I don't want this to sound like I don't love my dog, because I love my dog more than life itself. I just, I have come to terms with the fact that where I used to live was a little bit more conducive to like, walk my dog, go get a coffee at the local market, all good, come back, dogs out in the, in the yard for a while, et cetera, et cetera. And it's a little bit different now where I'm like, okay, if I don't do something that's just me stuff, I'm going to go a little crazy. And what's nice is that I like gyms. I like gyms. I like dirty gyms even. I do. And this particular gym is like, it's exceptionally fun because it's like, well, when I say, okay, let me clarify. Like, I don't want a gym that's like, has like the heaps of trash in all corners, but it's like, I don't need a fancy shishi gym. In
Yeah.
fact, I kind of don't like those sorts of gyms.
Yeah.
I just want a gym where you go in, you do your thing, other people there are caring about fitness. You might say hi, you might not. And that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
This gym also has self-tanning stations.
Ooh.
And
That sounds
also
fancy.
hydrotherapy, which I don't even know what that is.
Sounds pretty fancy to me.
It's not, though, Heather. It's not.
Okay.
This gym used to be an old movie theater when I was a
Oh,
kid
neat.
in this area of Sonoma County where I'm in. Yeah, it was one of those movie theaters where it was just one big stadium. Like you went to see a movie at this theater. You didn't have like a multiplex option.
Yeah.
So what this is now is just it's that room, but it's a gym. So like there aren't any windows, it's kind of weird. And there's tanning salon, like self tanning salons where I'm like, I'm not above that either. Depends on what I'm doing.
So you can just pop into
over
a
the
booth
weekend.
and like put a quarter in and like get a tan?
I don't
Or,
really
like,
know.
how does that work?
Well, so I don't know because I went there. Like, so I had actually gone there a couple times because they, entice you with like, hey, come in for free, have a free workout, check it out and see if it's right for you. And then they harass you until you're like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And I had told them like, I'm not going to commit to a year. Like that's just not going to happen. But I can, maybe like, can we do like a 3-month thing or whatever? And they were like, okay, let's make you a deal, blah, blah, blah. They want the business.
Of
But
course.
yeah, like they were like, yeah, you can do tanning. And I'm like, tanning? We're talking about like, we're not even talking about like a tanning booth. We're talking about spray tans, which I know quite a bit about because I used to spray tan all the time back in the day. Don't judge. And I'm like, you don't do that like after you work out and then put like really like sweaty tight clothes back on. Like I would
Sounds
need to
very
like,
SoCal gym. Like it sounds very like
well, or who knows? Yeah, you could, Scottsdale, Miami. Like, I mean, the list
Sure.
goes on. But and
Scottsdale.
none of those things are very nice. But nice to say. But I'm sort of like, okay, well, yeah. I mean, I'm not really a person who likes to shower at a gym. Heather, I don't know how you feel. I
Yeah,
have
I
belonged to many a gym over the years, and it's not so much that I have a problem being naked in front of other people because, quite honestly, at this point in my life, I do not care. It's more of just like, it's just better to, and like, I don't know, I have more control over like cleanliness at home.
Yeah, I am with you. I would prefer, but there are times, like for example, the last time I went to a very sweaty yoga class and then went out to dinner after,
Ah,
I would have
yes.
definitely showered at the gym if there
Oh
were
yeah, yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah. If you can't go home in between, like
Yeah.
a fresh set of clothes, like isn't good enough, right? If you're
Yeah.
like, I'm gross, like I need to take a
You have to
shower,
take like
like
a sink. You have to quickly rinse off in the sink with like paper
yeah,
towels
oh
and
gosh, and it's never good enough. It
it's never
isn't.
good
It
enough.
isn't. But like I remember this is, and again, like if anyone's like, wow, Sarah, you are too judgy about gym stuff, do let me know. But like I remember going to a gym. This is way back in the day, like let's call it 15 years ago, even more. And it was kind of nice, it was not like the fanciest, but like a nice gym. And they had like a really cool sauna area that that was sort of attached to the shower areas. I think the
Yeah.
guys had one too. I don't know. I never went on that side, but it was girls only. And I would see people like working out. We're all on treadmills or stairmasters or whatever, and they wouldn't like shower before they went into the sauna. And it was
Yeah.
like, what? I'm not going to say anything to you, like you all, you kind of take your clothes off and you either kind of like go full Monty or you have a towel or whatever. But I was like, but no rinse off, no rinse off, huh? Like
It's such a Seinfeld like
it
episode.
kind of is. Yeah. Cause it's like,
No rinse?
yeah, like, but don't you want, like, just for you, you're not
Yeah,
even
totally.
bothering me,
Yeah.
but just like, don't you want to rinse? Cause like,
Yeah,
there's
wouldn't you
all
wanna
that
get the
stuff
sweat off?
from the,
Yeah,
from
totally.
the out there. And now we're bringing it in here. So anyway, I don't know. I guess we'll see if the gym is open today. I'm sure it will be. I
I think
plan to
when you
go, and I will come back with notes.
Nice, nice. Please do. I think it depends on where I am, like what institution, because when you
Yeah.
say like I don't mind like a grimy gym or whatever, and I know that you're talking about like a specific kind of grime that's okay, which I'm okay with too.
Yeah.
I had a yoga studio that I went to in LA that had really nice showers and like nice products. And I didn't mind showering there at all. In fact, they gave you towels. So it was a really small place and it was only for yoga, but I loved showering there. It was sort of like a nice, I don't know, it was a nice ritual. And then I'd be on my way, and it was away enough from home that, I wouldn't have wanted to go back home. But then there's those places that I don't know if I'd want to go into the sauna or the steam room. I think a certain type of cleanliness, like a spa of some kind that feels clean enough. There's something where I think it's that like exchange of sweaty butts, where it's like it's just close quarters, it's hot, it's sweaty, and
Yeah.
you inevitably shed I don't know. You shed things, you shed molecules, and yeah,
Yes,
maybe it's a little
you
too close for
shed
comfort.
molecules. That's an interesting way to put it, Heather, but you're not wrong. No, I mean,
No, it's
and
scientifically
I think like
fact.
I think that's where I'm coming from too. Is like I used to go to Gold's in Venice, which is like the original Gold's. I love that gym. That gym is not for everybody. I'll tell you that
No,
right now.
it's
But
for
I mean, it was
bodybuilders.
big. It was like good people watching. I had the stuff that I needed there. I loved that gym, and it also wasn't, pardon me, expensive. But it didn't have like bells and whistles either. I don't even
Yeah.
think it had showers. I never even thought to check. If there were, I wouldn't have used them. But it was like it served a purpose. And I feel like this gym is kind of the same thing. At the
Good.
same time, I would be remiss if, I left out the fact that I also like to do VR workouts by myself,
In your basement, in the
in a safe
garage.
space, such as the garage that I'm sitting in right now, type thing. It's like, I don't, the whole gym thing is kind of like, I'm trying to like make it work for me again because I just pieced out on gyms. It was COVID mostly, and just the fact
Yeah.
that I used to live too deep in the woods for it to be convenient
Yeah.
in any way. And now I'm like, it's pretty convenient.
Well,
And
also it's going to make you feel
let's
more at home there because you're like you have a place to go that like you enjoy. It's down the street. It'll make you feel more settled into that area for as long as
also
you're going to be
just
there.
like I've had this conversation with so many people like, everybody likes the workout that they like. I mean, you mentioned yoga. It's like obviously yoga is very popular because it gives people, endorphins along with, fitness and, a sense of well-being. And like, I mean, otherwise people wouldn't do it. One of the things that I like the very most is walking up inclines, which is why a Stairmaster is my perfect machine. You put me on a Stairmaster, I will leave you alone for an hour and I'll just
I like
climb.
Stairmasters too.
Yeah, like I might go a little slower, a little faster, a little slower again, change it up. But I'm basically just climbing stairs the entire time. And other people, that's like,
It's good for your butt.
well, or like, but it's not like any different than climbing a steep hill.
Yeah.
Or, maybe you have a steep, well, it depends on where you live. Maybe you have a steep road nearby. There was one where I used to live that I went up all the time where I was like, this is like actually like a pretty complicated Stairmaster. Other people are like, worst nightmare. I would never do that.
I actually really relate to this because there's a trail, like a trailhead right down the road. And it's a 5-minute walk from my house along the road, which has hills already. So it's like a good workout. And then what I'll do is I'll go up and down that trail like 3 to 5 times. You go, it's short enough, but long enough where, and it has like when you go up, there's a lot of tree roots that are like almost like steps. And so like you can
yeah.
kind of blaze up and
So it's like a cross training, but also incline thing.
totally like full straight up incline and you're out of breath. And I realized too how like the indoor bike, and we won't belabor this whole like working out thing on the show today, but I have my indoor bike, which is so easy to just sit there and move your legs and listen to a podcast or just like stare out the window. And I noticed that wow, when I go for a walk, I'm kind of huffing and puffing, and I realize that I'm maybe not working hard enough, on the bike because I'm just sort of phoning it in.
Everything's a little too controlled.
It is, which is what I like, but it's nice to just get
I
out
know
there.
what you mean. I really do. Like the whole, I used to, when you buy like a new pair of athletic shoes, right? Where you're like, I'm going to get back into running or I'm going to do, some CrossFit class, like whatever it is, like, or basketball shoes or, there are a variety of things that are associated with sports, but they're supposed to be like the shoe for you. The
Yeah.
first time that I got these, I don't even remember the name of them. I'll have to look it up later. But these Nikes that are like designed for like off-road running. I was like, come on, who cares? Like,
Yeah.
really? Like, what does it really matter? Like, I've run on pavement. I've run on treadmills. Like, I can run on a dirt road also. It actually does make a difference if you have nice shoes. because they
Totally.
grip your ankle a different way, and
I
they
need
make
a
it
better
easy for
pair
like,
actually for that
yeah, like it's like
because I'm kind of
rolling
slip
an
sliding
ankle is a
around.
real thing you don't want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, well, send me the link to that because so I have a lot of these Adidas running shoes that work great at first, but when you're doing trails, it after a while, you lose the tread, like it wears down, and so
Yeah.
then I notice I'm slipping, and I'm like, oh, look at my tread, there's nothing left. And so, what do you do? Here's my question for you. I'm gonna leave you with this, Sarah,
Okay.
and y'all out there. What do you do with old shoes that have lost their tread? Because I have about three pairs of them in the garage. And I know that, like, on days that maybe I'm walking a muddy trail or maybe I'm painting and I need some shoes that I don't care about. But what do you do with them? Because it's like you don't really want to bring them to a thrift store because they've kind of lost their luster. I mean, do you throw them over like a telephone wire or like
Oh gosh.
what do you do with
Well, I
them?
mean, sure, if you want some enthusiastic new neighbors. No,
Yeah,
I
some
mean,
message.
I would say I would say donating would be, I mean, better than throwing them,
Yeah, I don't want to
into,
throw them in the
a landfill
garbage.
or something. I think, unless a shoe was to the point where, I don't know, there were holes in the soles, or
Sure, then
something
you would
where
maybe throw them
it
away.
felt just sort of like yuck, like why would I
Yeah.
ever, like, give this to someone else. I think for the most part a lot of that stuff can have second and third lives.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. That's good advice. So I wanted to circle back. When you say circle back, do people go, "Oh, I hate that. Don't say that." Like maybe it's corporate speak. Maybe that's why it irritates people.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, maybe someone said that to me before.
I think it's my sister mostly that's like, "Don't say that," and I'm like, "But it kind of works though. It works for you. You know, it's a visual. It's like we're coming back to something we were talking about earlier." And I wanted to just update y'all on my neighbor, my Nabe, who was going to do all the mortar show and the crazy fireworks, and never ended up talking to him. But my other Nabe, he's a buddy of mine, is kind of buddies with him, and he kind of negotiated with my Nabe, and so it was like a Nabe negotiation. And he brought him like a strawberry shortcake or something. Like I don't know why. I'm like, why does he like strawberry shortcake? But he totally like helped me with that situation because he ended up going to like a friend's house to put off his fireworks. So we weren't bothered at all by him, and he was nice about it. So I think I'm gonna get him some other cake or pie or something to just thank him for being a nice Nabe. I wanted to mention one thing that my partner is really good at doing is finding something to watch that is like really good for the moment. Like a movie that is like, he knows like what I am like in the mood for, like maybe I'm into like, I don't want a comedy. I want like a psychological thriller, but like maybe from like the 70s, maybe foreign. I'll be like, I'm kind of in the
You
mood
guys, you
for,
guys seem
I don't
very
know,
good at that.
screwball comedy. Or he's great. And so last night I would have never thought of this. I mean, this one's a kind of an obvious one. I think a lot of people out there probably watch this one because it is based on 4th of July, and that is Jaws, the shark movie by Steven Spielberg. Y'all know it. So we ended up watching Jaws because that whole thing takes place on a 4th of July weekend. And it's like, it's a theme. And then we ended up watching Piranha, which is a few years later was made. It's pretty cheesy, but kind of fun. But yeah, it's just sort of fun, like themed night last night. So it didn't even really feel like the 4th, which I felt a little guilty because I was like making a stink about being, having my animals be stressed, and when I actually had like kind of a regular night. But yeah, so I think the reason why I'm feeling extra sensitive about it this year, because I do love a good fireworks show. I mean, I was having a conversation with a friend who was just going on and on about how amazing this fireworks show was, how fun it was. And it's like, I feel you, girlfriend. I love a good fireworks show. But it's weird. This year in particular, it rubbed me the wrong way, way more than usual. And I think part of it is like, I'm just, there's a lot going on in the world that feels tense. And I think a lot of, it just felt like the wrong time to do something like that. And I'm also, I'm going on this trip, and I'm kind of, telling people where I'm going. And, you've got like the bad air quality in New York because of all these Canadian fires. And then you've got these riots and fires in Paris, from stuff that's been happening there. And so like my friends and people are like, oh my gosh, are you sure you want to go there? And it's like, oh God, well, I mean, there's kind of mayhem everywhere. I mean, it's like, this is not anything new. And so I think all I'm saying is that it seems a little bit more scary out there because of like after the pandemic and all the things that are going on, we're under more pressure. And so nowhere is safe. And so you might as well treat yourself. And I really, truly believe that this is not a PSA, but I am saying this to y'all out there that don't feel like there's no end in sight. Treat yourself to like a nice ice cream cone or a fancy coffee drink or a foot rub or anything, just a nice dinner. I mean, it can be really simple, but I think, we all deserve it. Life can be a slog. And I think it's important to treat yourself to something that you enjoy from time to time to get out of the chaos of the
100%.
Daily grind. Email us at hi@havesuchagoodday.com if you have any comments, thoughts, questions, queries.
Yes. Or you just want to, just rail on us about something. Actually, don't do that, but do it if you really feel like you need to.
That'd be cool.
I as you were mentioning that, Heather, and I don't really have any travel on the horizon, but I'll be traveling soon enough. One of the things that I do sporadically is, get manicure pedicures, mani-pedis, right? I think everybody knows what that is.
Mani-pedi. Yeah. This is my boyfriend's least favorite word. Mani-pedi. He like cringes. No, mani-pedi. Mani-pedi.
I used to hate that as well.
He cringes.
And then I just let it go. It's sort of, he probably also hates the word Insta for Instagram. And if so, I feel
maybe.
You. I
like
feel
inspo.
You. I just there's some inspo.
Inspo.
I don't like that either. But anyway, okay, manicure pedicure. But I will every so often I'll kind of go like, you know what? Let's just come on, let's look alive here. And then I'll do that for because you got to keep it up, right? You get one, and then it's gonna grow because your nails grow, and then you have to get more.
Polished. It does make you feel buttoned up a little bit.
Yeah,
it's a nice feeling.
It's just one of those things. It's the way somebody might feel about wearing a nice suit. I don't feel that way, but listen, whatever. And then I'll just be like, life is chaotic, and like rip off the nail polish, and then my nails are a mess, and then I'm just like, ugh. And then I get another manicure, pedicure, and I'm like, okay, all right.
Like all is well in the world.
Well, all is not lost. It might not be well, but it's not all lost. We are okay. We're still breathing. But it's so funny, Heather, you mentioned the movie Jaws. When I was at the gym, the aforementioned gym, I was there already because they had given me 3 free days, which I love free things, so I'm going to use them. And I was
Who
there.
doesn't?
Yeah, of course. You give me something free, I'm going to use it. And so I was there on the Stairmaster, of course. And I'm wearing my earbuds and I'm listening to my own thing. But there's like a million TVs, in front of me where you can set your earbuds to be a certain channel where I'm like, I don't care that much. But one of the things on TV was Jaws. And
funny.
They had the subtitles on. So I was like,
Wow.
This is very weird. I'm like listening to music,
random.
but I'm watching Jaws and
Was
I'm
that on
reading
July
everything.
3rd? Was that recent?
It wasn't July 3rd. It was last week. So it was like ramping up to 4th of July.
Maybe they did it for a theme thing.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. If it was like TNT or something, they probably were showing Jaws quite a bit, leading up to the holiday. But I was like, this is one of the weirdest situations I've ever really thought about at a gym where I'm like,
That is really random.
listening to my own. I don't even think I was listening to music. It was a podcast. I can't remember which one, like Radiolab or something. And like watching Jaws and reading the subtitles, and also being like, I got back home that night and I was hanging out with my mom, and I'm like, when's the last time you saw Jaws? And she's like, I don't know, in like 70 something.
1974.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, why? And I'm like, it's kind of like a weird movie in a way. Like, it's like not really about sharks that much. It's like about adults.
It's politics. It's like very
Yeah.
political.
Which is like, it was funny because as a kid, it was always like, what are the scariest movies? Exorcist, Jaws.
Totally.
And then like Friday the 13th and like Halloween, you know, whatever. But like Jaws was like one of the really early ones.
Yeah.
And you watch it and you're like, oh, I'm sure it was really scary at the time, but like this isn't even really a horror movie.
It's kind of dated because of like the special effects too. Like it's hard to, when we were kids, it was cool special effects, but now it's like, you know,
but
I mean,
you spend a lot of time like with adults talking about things
where
you're
the
like,
right thing to do.
God, I mean, imagine being a kid in the movie theater. You'd be like, where are the sharks?
Yeah, no, totally.
Sharks.
There's a lot of that like adult drama and
kind of
behind
just
the
like
scenes.
Exposition, but yeah,
totally. Yeah, for sure. It's funny. We were talking about that last night. Just sort of the fact that there was so much adult, exposition in there that kind of went over our heads. I think it came out the year I was born, I believe.
It was before me.
Well, we don't need to discuss our ages, but yeah, that is
Heather,
really
you
random.
and I are both young, nubile ladies.
We are nubile. Emphasis on the nubile.
I haven't said that word out loud in a while, and it felt really dirty just now.
I know you said it so quietly, like you were like, "Oh God, what's coming out of my mouth right now? I can't control myself." Sometimes your mouth just says things, and you kind of have to run with it.
A true story. So gosh, I've talked about fitness and Jaws and all sorts of things. I wanted to just mention briefly. This is just something that I don't know if it is being in flux. Well, I know that's part of it. And when I say being in flux, just because I've been kind of moving around as of late, and I'm still, kind of trying to figure out like what the permanent place will be. But I also have gotten some sort of weird eating habits, and I don't want to make that seem like, like dangerous or anything. More of just, I wake up in the morning and, I wake up early, I start working, I start cranking, on stuff. And, there are times even, I always make coffee. So I'm having like coffee and water, trying to hydrate and just kind of wake up. And then I will have this conversation with myself of like, can you just like cut out for 15 minutes, make some toast, toast and jam, or a quick egg thing, like, and just, satiate yourself. And sometimes I'm like, no, I'm too busy.
Like you're jamming.
Yeah, because I'm like, I know I do have time, but like, I don't want it, I just want to keep working, and then get to the point where like, I can really like chill for 30, 45 minutes and like enjoy my food, which is, that's what I want to do, but I don't have time to do that in the morning. And sometimes I do, not always. And it gets to the point where by the time I've got that time to sit down and enjoy the food, I'm a wreck. I'm kind of shaky. Blood sugar's weird. I've had coffee, but I haven't really had anything else. Maybe I've had a handful of almonds, but like that's not breakfast. And it's like, it's become this thing where, I know a lot of people who talk about intermittent fasting. And most of the time, not always, but most of the time when I go, okay, explain that to me. Like, so how do we, like exactly like, how does that work? It sounds like all they're doing is skipping breakfast. They're like, I don't eat after midnight, and then I don't eat again until the next day at noon. Where I'm like, so you skip
I've
breakfast?
heard that too. Yeah.
And they're like,
That's a
no,
thing.
no, skipping breakfast is different. This is like very calculated, like food, times of eating. Where I'm like, no, you skipped breakfast. I mean, okay, okay, sure, fine. We're six half dozen, but
Uh-huh.
I I have realized I should not be skipping breakfast. It just
No,
makes
you
me
shouldn't.
feel crazy the rest of the
Here's the
day.
thing. Maybe this will help. And because I do the same thing. I jam. I get up and I'm jamming on stuff and I don't want to break away. But I love my cereal in the morning and I'm hungry a few hours later, sure. But like at least it's something to get you going.
Yeah.
And I put like chia seeds in there and I put like flax and I put different kinds of cereal, like kind of like Seinfeld, style. I've always done that. Like as a kid, I used to mix cereals and then I put almond milk on it and I kind of let it soak because like the chia seeds get like they kind of expand and it makes it like really yummy and soupy. And I like look forward to it. It's like something that
Oh
I
yeah.
I like have every morning. And yeah, it doesn't fill me up for that long, but at least it gives you some calories to start. And it's such a joy. Like you should just find a little something something to get you, to like an early lunch, and
100%.
enjoy it.
Well, yeah, I mean, speaking of chia seeds, that is an ingredient that I make in my overnight oats,
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
which is, something that like, if I'm being consistent, I make it like once a week and I make a lot of it. And I mean, once like especially oats soak, with like you put other stuff in there, cinnamon, blueberries, chia
Yeah,
seeds, some yogurt, a little
dried
salt,
fruit.
yeah, that sort of thing. And then maybe you add like some almonds on top, at the
Yeah,
time of eating. Like that's pretty dense and it's
totally.
delicious. I
You
love
should
that
totally
stuff.
do that. Do it
There
over
is
the
no
weekend.
reason for me not to. There's something
Exactly.
psychological about like I just wake up in the morning and I'm like,
You need something that's grab and
I'm not
go.
ready
Like you just
yet.
need to grab it. Like put it
Yeah,
in little
exactly.
containers
I
and then
think
you've got a week's worth.
what I should do is make it and make myself eat a little breakfast before coffee. I know that sounds a little weird,
Totally. No, you
but
should.
it might make more sense. Because I'll probably drink less coffee because, when you got a full
You're trying
tummy,
to fill up
sometimes
kind of
you
thing.
don't want a lot of coffee, right?
Yeah.
We'll leave it at
Yeah.
that. And yeah, that I don't know. Now that
Well, keep
see,
us
this is
posted,
why the show
Sarah.
is so great, Heather. Like as we've workshopped this, I have kind of a plan that I didn't have going into it.
Hey, we're here for you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Really, we'll workshop anything under the sun. Really, I mean, just go
We
back
really will.
to almost 200 episodes. We've probably talked about everything. So I wanted to quickly mention before we wrap up today. A lot of you have been writing in and asking about this mic that I mentioned. It's a microphone that I am bringing on my trip that I can fit in my pocket. And I did extensive research. I'm going to give you a better sort of my review when I've used it a few times. I've used it like once and I've done a lot of research. So here's what I know. But while I'm on my trip, I will report back and tell you how much I love or hate it or anything in between. So what I ended up doing was I knew I booked this trip without a lot of thought or pre-thought. And I thought, oh gosh, how am I going to do the show? And so I started Googling. I wanted something that, my current setup is a pretty hefty mic. Sarah has a similar setup. I mean, it's a very heavy, big microphone that stays on the desk. You would never want to take it with you. And I've got a thing called the Scarlett, which I have to plug it into because it plugs into my laptop. And so it's not that complicated, but there's a couple items and I wanted to literally have something that I could throw in my pocket or in my purse. And those things exist now. It's been a while since I've looked for something and, technology moves so fast. I was pretty blown away by the technology of this mic. So I ended up getting a mic that's called Tula, Tula, and it's a recording device and a USB microphone. So people use it for a bunch of things. Like I think it kind of started out where people were buying it for like Zoom calls to make their audio sound better. You know, when you're in a meeting with a lot of people, the audio sounds bad and you're straining to hear, especially if you're running a team and you're trying to direct and you're doing everything remotely. It like, you know, it helps a lot if like the audio is warm, like smooth. It is so, I wanted something so easy to use because I mean, I want to be nimble. Like I want to pack like as light as possible. And so I was looking for something obviously very small. It is so tiny and so easy to use and so simple. And what I was blown away by, just by the one time I used it, was the sound quality for like such a little dude. And it's basically, it has like, I won't get into all the like technical stuff, but it has some pretty interesting sort of these, they call it the Clevgrand noise reduction, which is like you have to turn it on. It's a button. And so if you're recording, if I'm doing this podcast, it is this very surprisingly effective noise canceling. So if I'm typing in the background, you can't hear it on the recording. It's pretty brilliant. It's compatible with pretty much everything except for your phone. I don't think you can use it, but Mac, PC, Android. And what's cool about it too, and I don't think I'll use this, but Sarah, I was thinking about our TV days, but you can plug in a lav mic, where you put it on, you know, the mics that you put on your lapel that you see
of course.
with TV
Lavaliers.
reporters and that sort of thing. And yeah, so I'm actually excited also because people were writing about how they love it as a field recorder. So like they're recording like frogs croaking or, you know, dogs barking, just nature noises, which I think that's really fun. Like the one last thing I will say about it, and I will report back on a better in-depth review, but great, like huge props on the style, like amazing design. It's very 50s, 60s retro. It's super durable. You can tell it's like very, very well made, solid, you know, like even if you drop it, it is just such a solid little piece of equipment. I highly recommend it. Tula mics, find it online. I will report back as long as I have one of my friends who said about my trip said, as I was discussing Nowhere is Safe, she said, you're either going to have the time of your life or you're going to end up on Dateline. So let's hope that I don't end up on Dateline. You're going to find these lost recordings of me somewhere in like Turkey or something. Let's hope not. But if y'all want more info on any of this or keep listening, you can always email us at hi@havesuchagoodday.
Indeed. Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. I have traveled with a variety of audio equipment with mixed results, depending on just, I don't know, air travel and, you know, or ground travel or whatever I had to do. But anything that is rugged and can kind of, you know, pack up nicely and kind of works with what you're doing anyway is a great option. And I think a lot of people think, I can't travel and, you know, bring gear with me, you know, besides like an iPhone or, you know, a tablet or, you know, that sort of thing. And sometimes you can or you don't want to. But I think it's always a good reminder that, you know, a lot of us can minimize the, you know, packing situation of what we're going to use that can keep us connected while we're away.
Totally. And maybe I'm gonna like want to record like a dinner. I don't know, like maybe there's gonna be an opportunity where I take it with me socially and it'd be a really fun thing to have. Who knows?
Yeah.
The world is my oyster.
It really is. Well, we're looking forward to your trip. I know I am.
Thanks, Lance.
Living vicariously through you. But in the meantime, we did want to remind everybody that we are listener supported. Patreon.com/havesuchagoodday is where you can find out more about that. We did get a new patron, and that patron's name is Joan. Joan, we see you.
Yeah,
we
Joan.
love you. We're glad to have you along for the ride. You know, Heather and I have talked about.
You don't hear about a lot of Joans these days.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I think Joan's a good name. I've always liked
good
the name
It's
Joan.
solid. Yeah, same.
Yeah. I like the way it's spelled. I like everything about it. But just a reminder, Heather and I have talked in a couple of recent episodes that we're trying to drum up, some maybe, new fun ideas for getting new patrons, because every new patron helps us, and figuring out, fun perks. And summer has gotten in the way. I'm, just recently moved. Heather's going on vacay, but we haven't forgotten about
Always
it.
something.
And we really, really do want to figure out what makes sense for all of you that are already along for the ride, and those of you who are listening on a free tier, which we will never rob you of. But we would love to know, what would make you, want to give us maybe a couple bucks a month or even maybe $5 a month to be part of our Discord.
Exactly.
Yeah. And no answer is right or wrong. But speaking of getting feedback, we got a real nice one from William, aka Scrambled Eggs, which is spelled
with
really
a
great.
Z. Mm-hmm. I love this spelling.
Yeah. William was saying of our, I think it was 2 shows ago, saying, I was having one of those mornings where I was really having to gas myself up to tackle the day. On mornings like this, I usually listen to your podcast rather than music, try to snap myself out of my mood or give myself one last shot at least starting the day off on the right foot. In addition to always being fun and interesting to listen to, thank you, William, there's something comforting about hearing y'all work through your issues or dilemmas out loud. I'm usually having some sort of internal dialogue asking myself if I'm making or I've made the right decisions, wondering if my feelings are reasonable, etc., etc. So hearing you two, who strike me as very reasonable individuals. Boy, William, you should meet us sometime. Go through that same process so generously on air really does make me feel better. And boy, did that make my heart feel fuzzy.
It warmed my heart too. It really did.
Yeah.
William / Scrambled Eggs.
Because, Heather and I sometimes, we always say this. We love doing this. This is fun for us. It's not.
But we're in a vacuum a little bit.
Yeah. It's not really about like, like being like, some top podcast, whatever. But it does really
But we wish we were.
Well, yeah, of course. But like, we never have been. And so, if we were just sort of like, if we're not making like $1 million and we're not doing the show, like that's not the driving force of this. In many ways, it's because we don't see each other very much anymore, and so this is really cathartic and fun. But it's so nice to hear from someone like you, William, saying, you kind of like help me like get my head on straight sometimes. Like that is like the biggest compliment I could ever hear.
100%. Yeah, that's what we're hoping for. We're all along on this ride together. And we hope to kind of help each other along the way.
Indeed. Even if we're limping.
Which happens,
Gosh.
it happens to all of us.
Girl, I've been limping. Been limping for a good month. But you know what? It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, you're gonna have some in between times where you're not limping, and it's going to make up for all of the limping.
I might go back to the gym, and I might even get a spray tan. And you know what? I don't even care. I don't care who knows it.
Girl. Treat yourself.
Treat myself. I will. And just a reminder, we are on the socials, HSGD Show on Instagram and Twitter. Heather has been really good about posting stuff on Instagram lately. We're not that social, let's be honest. But if there's anything that you want to see more of, because we've experimented with stuff and kind of wondered if it really mattered to anybody or if they just care about the audio.
What do you want to see more of?
Just,
we can reveal more of our daily lives stuff, if you like.
Yeah, or, there, I don't know. Might be people who are like, I don't know. I just want to listen to the podcast once a week.
And look, here's the thing.
Fine.
We're not one of those peoples who has like a professional photographer following us around on our best days. And like,
does?
There are people on Instagram. There are people who have like,
well, yeah. Okay. Well, yeah.
So we're not, we don't have that kind of, we don't have like a head of marketing.
We want to influence your day in a positive way, but we would not
we are not influencers.
Yeah. Not in that respect. But that is by design. But as Heather mentioned, hi@havesuchagoodday.com is a great way to let us know what you're thinking. Did something resonate with you? You got thoughts, you got ideas about a future show? We'd love to hear it. But I think for now, Heather, we're going to go ahead and wrap this puppy up because I got to go to the gym.
Yeah, dude, I'm actually going to go hit the bike. I wanted to say, too, that I'm going to be on the road, I think, when we record episode 200. So that should be interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is, a reminder, 196. So
it might be right when I get back. It could be.
Well, we'll
it's gonna
figure
be around that time toward the end. So yeah,
we will figure something out.
And we will celebrate.
We've been talking about episode 200 since like episode 150. So we'll figure out some sort of fanfare that'll be fun for all. You know, we'll all
No
eat
fireworks.
cupcakes. You know, in the comfort of our own homes, and
Exactly.
like set off a firework or two.
Nothing noisy.
Yeah, just something
Nothing that
that's
disturbs the animals.
very neighborly. Well, until episode 197, I will remain Sarah.
And I will remain Heather forever.
Have such a good day.
Ciao, ciao.